Got it. Awesome. Firstly, I would like to welcome everyone to the call today. I apologize for the confusion. It's the first time it's happened to us this way. We've had other things happen, but this has always been interesting. We are recording this for those guys who didn't make it. So for those who are watching afterwards, I apologize for the confusion. We are here. We're going to get into this because this is a really important topic, and I'd like to make sure that we get the most out of today's session. So this topic today is simple. It's how to scientifically optimize marketing to create an unlimited marketing budget. Now, here's the thing I've learned, and I've spoken to some of you guys before. When it comes to running marketing in our business, we don't know exactly how much to spend, how to spend it, where to spend it. Today's going to be talking about 3 different areas of how to build a marketing process. And I talk about unlimited marketing budget here, and I'll explain why as we go through this session. First thing I want to just talk about is, for those who haven't met me before, my name's David Guest. I run a company called Outcomes Business Group. We host these events. Our purpose in life is to reinvigorate the business stream, and it's literally about helping people grow their business. There's 2 kinds of people I see in business. There's these guys who are full of being busyness, we call it. You know, they're in operations, they do very little marketing, and they do a bit of admin after hours. The real reason they do this is they're stuck right in the middle here. And I know that some of the guys that we talk to often are in this world of being self-employed, and it's all fine and well as long as the money keeps coming in. But when it comes to, I need to build my business, I don't have the time because I'm too busy serving my clients. The philosophy that we need to get you to rethink is, instead of working in the business, you need to be working on it. The topic for today is creating an unlimited marketing budget. Now, I'll tell you that there's no magic wand to marketing your business. The marketing of a business requires effort, it requires trial and error, and it requires you to actually build a system. Now, that all takes time, and the only way that we'll find that time is if we pull you out of the operations of the business for a period and get you starting to work on. So let's talk a bit about this idea of unlimited marketing budget. There's 2 numbers that you should all learn to get a handle on. The first one is a thing called acquisition cost. And there's 2 versions of this. There's the one that you're actually paying. So how much am I paying for a client right now? Now, if you don't do any paid marketing, you need to calculate it through the amount of time and effort that you put into attracting a new client. The maths is really simple. How much did I spend on sales and marketing, and how many new clients did I get? And you divide one by the other, and that'll tell you the number. The second number I want you to think about with acquisition is, how much am I willing to spend to get a new client, which is what's known as allowable acquisition cost. Because this is about investment, right? And the difference between marketing being an expense and an investment is that you know what you expect to get in return. So this is one number I need you to go away and think about, and you'll be thinking about as we go through today's presentation. The second number is lifetime value. And this is a self-explanatory number too. It's how much will your client or your prospect spend with you in their lifetime? And I want you to know it from 2 points of view: one, revenue, and the second one, profit. Because the profit that a client makes for you in their lifetime will determine the return on investment of your acquisition cost. Is this making sense, everyone? Thumbs up if it makes sense. It's a very simple formula, but 99% of people I ask, what is your acquisition cost? And they cannot give me the answer. Now, my suggestion is, if you're going to market your business and you don't know these numbers, you're flying blind. And so you need to start to work these numbers out. If you need the help getting these numbers established, any one of the guys on this call can help you. We're happy to help you to do this. And for some people, it's harder than others. But you need to know these 2 numbers to become very comfortable with spending the money. So today's presentations, there's 3 pieces to today. We've got 1 hour, which is 54 minutes left to do this. The first part we're going to talk about is the funnel. Now, tofu is also known as a meat substitute, but in this context, it represents top of funnel. When we talk about marketing and sales, most people don't realize there's segments to this. So if you look at the funnel, there's 3 levels. There's the top of funnel, there's the middle of funnel, and there's the bottom of funnel. Now, what that represents is, top of funnel is new business or new leads coming into your business. And for a lot of people, that's all they need. They just say, I need some new leads. Other people say, well, leads is one thing, but the leads I'm getting are not of high quality. And I need to do something about filtering those leads. And I need to do something about wasting my time trying to sell to people that aren't ready to buy. So therefore, it's not top of funnel issues, it's middle of funnel issues, or it's bottom of funnel issues. Our 3 presenters today are going to talk in each of these segments, because for a business to work successfully, you need all of them, okay? And so if we start with top of funnel, one of my favorite sayings is, fresh blood is the lifeblood of business. And for most people who run businesses and they tell us about how they've got great retention and their clients are great, they just need a handful of new clients. The truth of the matter is, you can trade yourself out of any dilemma in business if you have fresh leads coming in all the time. Now, I don't mean one lead here and one lead there. I mean a trickle of leads every single day or every single week that you're in business, because then you've got new people coming on board, which means that you can do one of a few things. You can actually practice your sales process, you can adjust your pricing, and you can be more comfortable about this idea of building a business over time. So for our first presenter, we're going to talk straight into this topic. And the topic that we're going to be covering is which marketing channel is likely to work best for your B2B business and sales cycle. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Jan. So Jan from Cavell is an expert in this top of funnel area, and he's going to cover a few of the key elements to be thinking about as we go through this. So Jan, over to you.
Hi, hello everybody. My name's Jan Rotenbach. That's me there when I had a bit more hair. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I used to own a very successful software business for about 25 years. I had 80 clients, some large international companies like Reebok and Puma. I started digital marketing services business in 2015. I moved countries and successfully re-established my business here in Australia with clients locally as well as in the USA. I'll be talking firstly about the targeting and measuring on the right platforms for your business. In other words, where do you target, what platforms online, and what measurements to make. Secondly, about a hugely successful B2B platform and how we get great results for it, for our clients as well as for ourselves. So firstly, why is my screen not moving? Okay, there we go. So firstly, where do you find your customers? Okay. And so that would depend on the type of business you have, but I'm just going to touch on this because we don't have a lot of time this morning, but it's important to look for your customers on the right channels. So if you have a product that people, or a service that people search for, then the obvious thing is Google search, which would be either Google Ads, search engine optimization, or even local SEO. That is, if you have a local address and you're servicing a local area and people come to your office or your shop or whatever it is, then you use what we term local SEO. And for B2B or business to business, if you need a high volume of leads, then something like Facebook ads or Google ads or even LinkedIn ads would work. If you're selling high ticket items, what I mean by that is something that the customer is worth to you quite a lot every year, and you need less volume but higher value, higher quality, then unquestionably LinkedIn is the place to find those people. And I'll talk a bit more about that just now. If it's a new product or service, or you're solving a problem that people don't know they have, or you're solving a problem that people don't know there's a solution to, you need to educate the market. And you do that using content, a content strategy, and that could be through content videos, marketing on social media through video content, or writing articles and email marketing as well. Okay. Okay, here we go. So having a problem moving my slides here. Okay, so if you're selling B2C or to consumers, then again, platforms like Facebook ads or Google ads and even TikTok ads work very well. TikTok ads have been working well for e-commerce businesses. So those are actually options of where you should look to find your customers. Now, when we come to measurement, it's really important to measure and understand what is working and what's not working. So we have what we call vanity metrics, and those are things like views or email opens. And that's important to see what content is working and what content is not. But the hard metrics that are more important, things like click-through rates, cost per click, cost per lead or per acquisition, and return on investment, those are really important, especially if you can track how much a customer cost you to generate and where that customer came from. Then you can figure out what channel online is working for you or not, and what you need to do to improve on that. Okay. Then now I'd like to chat about the buyer journey, and this is something that people often fall down on, because it's not just a case of generating leads and then doing a sale. Very often we need to understand that there's a sales cycle, especially in business to business. Buyers are very well informed nowadays. They have the internet, they do their own research, and they really know what they want, and they look for solutions themselves. They don't like to be sold to. They want to make the decision themselves. So in B2B, there's a few things that need to line up to get a buyer to buy, and there's a journey they go through. First of all, we need to establish if they need what you have, and then they also need to want what you have. To be able to want what you have, they need to trust you, and they need to know and like you. Even if you're selling to large companies, you're selling through individuals, and you need to build relationships with them. Very important aspect is return on investment, and this does not necessarily mean the lowest price. It's about the value that you can offer and whether the client sees that value and whether that value makes sense to them. They want to make a return on what you're offering. Then there's timing is very important, because we often don't think about timing, but they might want your product, they might need it, they might be happy to pay for it, but they might have other priorities, other projects they're finishing before they get to you. And then lastly, you need to make sure that they have the budget or the money. So the takeaway from this is to build relationships, qualify a lead, establish a need, and make sure that you provide information at the right point at the right time without being pushy. That's a lot of work, but a lot of this can be automated. So the next item I want to talk about is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn for business to business is a really fantastic platform. And I've got a few reasons here. We can just touch on them quickly. So it's the only platform that you can actually message someone directly in almost any business anywhere in the world. That's really, really powerful. There's 830 million users, and 310 of them are monthly active, 58 million companies. It's the best social network for lead generation according to HubSpot. 45% of content readers on LinkedIn is upper management. Only 3 million LinkedIn users share content weekly, and that's a huge opportunity because there's 810 million users, only 3 million share content regularly. And 73% of buyers are more likely to consider a brand if the salesperson reached out via LinkedIn. How do we leverage LinkedIn? Now, I think a lot of us know that LinkedIn is really good for business to business, but how do you leverage it? It's about person to person, it's personal relationships. Although you can have a company profile, it's really your personal profile that's important for LinkedIn organic outreach. You need to find the right target companies and the right role players in those companies that are going to make the buying decisions or influence the buying decisions, and you need to reach out to them. LinkedIn has brought in a limit of 100 connection requests a week, but there are ways to overcome that as well. The important thing on LinkedIn is not to spam, it's to build value, share valuable information directly and by posts. And you need to try and get people off the LinkedIn platform onto the phone, into your CRM, onto your email system, and onto your following up system. So you do that by offering value, sharing information, and asking for a call to get to know them. It's great for finding referral partners. It's great for finding customers directly. But the key for LinkedIn to work for you is to be consistent. And that's where the challenge is for most of us. How do you do all that in the little time that we have? Because if you're going to actually work LinkedIn successfully, it needs to be 3 hours a day minimum. And that's like 90 hours a month. And most of us don't have the time. And even if we had the time, it's too costly because our time is worth more than, doing this work on a day-to-day basis. The answer to that is to actually outsource the work to somebody that you trust, to make sure you have a strategy that works, and then outsource that strategy to somebody that you trust. You need to cost your own time because your own time is expensive. And that then makes it very cost effective. So lastly, if you think that LinkedIn should be working for you and it's not working, or you're not sure that LinkedIn could work for your business, then I'm happy for you to book a call with me, and I'll take you through that process to see if your strategy is correct, if LinkedIn will work for your business. And it's a no obligation call. It's not a sales call. It's just to find out if LinkedIn will work for you. So if you click on that QR code, then book a call, and happy to help you. And that's it from me. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Before you go, so look, probably a couple of quick questions. If we're going to have a Q&A towards the end of today's session, and we're going to go into breakout rooms so people can meet some others. Kelly, can you also put Jan's link into the chat? One thing I've learned is you mentioned something just then about 3 hours a day on LinkedIn, and I watched a few eyes sort of widen.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time, right? And especially if I'm not a marketing person. What sort of things would that person be doing in that 3 hours a day?
Okay. So they would be looking for new leads on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
People to reach out to.
Yep.
And then actually reach out to them. Then they would be sending follow-up messages to people that they've reached out to in the past, to stay in touch consistently.
Yeah.
Wish them happy birthday,
Right.
Congratulate them on another year at a certain job.
Okay.
Congratulate them on a new job, and so on and so on. And most importantly, posting valuable information, content, and sharing content.
Cool. Because I know LinkedIn has always been sitting there for a lot of people as a great place to find people. They really just don't know how to connect. And we've all experienced being on the receiving end of spam on LinkedIn. Who's had the, hi, loved your profile, we should connect type. And you look at it, oh God, another one. So I think what you're saying is it's just a bit more than just reaching out and saying how you should buy my product. It's a bit about building relationships through putting good content up, asking people to comment, et cetera, et cetera. Awesome. Look, what I'm going to do is anyone who has questions during today's session, if you can put them into the chat box as we go, we will get all the presenters together towards the end of today. We're going to go into some breakout rooms just to have a bit of a chat about what did you get out of that session? What's important to you? Where do you feel you need to work on top of funnel? So going to breakout rooms for about 3 minutes, Cal, 3 minutes. just to meet some people. Maybe you mention who you are, what you do, and where you need to focus on top of funnel. So we're going to do that for 3 minutes right now. On the count of 3, you have to click the join button. 1, 2, and 3. Hey, Martin, how you going? Haven't seen you for a while.
Oh, good, David. Nice to see you, mate.
Yeah. I love the background. It's so colourful. All right, everyone's slowly coming back in. So the next part of this discussion today is middle of funnel or MOFU. Now, some people confuse that with MOFO, but it's literally the part that once you've got your leads coming in, so let's say you run LinkedIn and you start getting people to connect with you, they might not be ready to buy and they need to go into your trout farm. And your trout farm is where do you keep people while they're prospects and even before they're prospects, once they're qualified. So they meet your criteria as a client, but they're not ready to buy. So Pete's going to be talking about a bit about this. His presentation is going to be about optimizing your marketing spend by integrating and automating your sales and marketing process. Now, for some of us, we love process. For some of us, we hate process. But for me, this is how you plug the holes in the funnel because you've got leads that aren't ready to buy. And what do you do with them? Pete, have you got your timer there?
I do have my timer. I'll pop it on here.
Awesome. You got 15 minutes and you start now.
Okay. I'll just screen share and I'm not on mute and everyone can hear me, which is good. And provided I don't disappear because of power cut, we're all good. So, okay. So my presentation is about how process integration and automation can help you optimize your marketing spend. And just to introduce myself, my business is Process Culture. So in fact, John Calabro, who's on this call, is responsible for producing this amazing logo and the branding behind it as well. So, and shout out to John if you're interested in logos and branding. He's pretty good at this stuff. So my business focuses on sales process automation, so automating all the manual and tedious tasks inside of a business. And I'm very sort of interested from an intellectual point of view as well, the interface between marketing and sales. So specifically in this presentation here, we'll be talking about process design, so how that process works and how my service works. Then how do we integrate marketing, automation and sales, specifically focusing on Pipedrive CRM and ConvertKit, which I use for email marketing. And then how do you go about maximizing conversion when you've got leads? How do you actually take those leads and then convert them into raw cash in the bank? And then I'll talk about reporting, so you actually have visibility so you can see what's working and what's not working in your business. So process design and integrated systems, my approach is these 5 components are really key to what I do. So the first part is to visually map out your business processes. So actually to look at the way you're currently, your marketing and sales processes work and actually produce a visual map. So we can see all the different touch points. We can see how customers interact with your business and we can see where there are opportunities to automate and really track that journey from the very first contact right through to the sale and onboarding of the customer and the ongoing project. We'll talk a bit about integrated systems throughout this presentation, and then sales workflow automation and marketing automation and the difference between them. And then there's a focus on sales dashboards and reports. So sales process design is where it all really starts. And I include marketing in this as well. So when I'm working with customers, we actually interview staff, we're talking about how do you, where do you get your leads? Where do those leads come into your business? What does your process look like? And a lot of people don't understand their process properly. They have an idea of the sales process. They have an idea of the way that they sell. But once you get everyone together as a group, you start to understand, have a common understanding of how things work in the business. And then we map it out visually. So what you can see here is actually a visual map of a business process, just one small part of the business process. And I use this approach once I've spoken to staff to actually then get everyone onto the same page so we can all understand how a business process works. And then we can look at opportunities to automate and improve. And then from here, we can also take, after having automated the business and having created these diagrams, we can then put in place operations manuals and documentation. I think I've sort of mentioned that really there. So why do we automate? Why would you want to automate a business? So a lot of businesses, especially when you start, or older businesses, will have a lot of manual processes. So there's a lack of consistency. You receive a phone call from a customer, or an email from a customer, or even a contact via social media. And every single time you're dealing with that, you're dealing with this new inquiry in a different way. So there's a lack of consistency. The message you're sending out might be different. There's no standardization. There's also a lot of manual work involved. You receive a new inquiry, you have to fill in a paper form, and you have to fill in a spreadsheet. You send, I've been to businesses where they've sent business cards. They've gone to an event and then passed business cards around the room, or they've sent an email with a spreadsheet clip onto another person. So it's very, very sort of manual process, and there's a lot of information lost. So error rates, someone could say this is a $10,000 deal, but it's actually a $100,000 deal, so it's not prioritized because they missed a zero. And the customer experience, Bob comes in on Monday and his experience is fantastic, and June comes in on Tuesday, completely different experience. So we're looking for a standardized experience of working with the business, no surprises, and making sure right through that process, we're also taking feedback, and we're able to optimize and improve the process. So here's a few examples of sales process automation, making the repeatable automatic. So automated lead management. If I go to a networking event, I can take my mobile phone, I can scan a business card, the contact details go straight into a tool called Contact Plus, and then they go straight into my CRM. Automated communication, or onboarding or booking of discovery calls, all of these communications with the customer, with your staff, can be automated. And then key to what I'm talking about specifically today, in the 10 minutes I have left, is automating follow-up to make sure when you've got leads that they're actually actively being followed up. And when you're working on a deal, once you've qualified that lead, we're actually actively making sure we're moving it forward in the funnel, in the pipeline. And also reminding clients. So, a client might have received a quote from you, they haven't haven't replied to you, just, reminding them to actually look at that quote. And often it means after a couple of reminders, we need to pick up the phone and make a phone call. So reminding the salesperson that we've just sent out 2 reminders regarding a quote, you now need to phone back. And then automated reports to make sure we have, daily, weekly reports. I receive an SMS every day telling me about all my new leads in Pipedrive, for example. So very specifically targeted to this presentation, though, is how do we integrate marketing and sales? So it's important that we can track your customer journey right through from the now we talk about leads, prospects, and customers. Now, a lead is someone who's, a contact. Now in Pipedrive, a lead is actually an opportunity. It's not a person, but it's attached to a person. So you've got a person, you've got their business card. There is a potential opportunity there. That's what we refer to as a lead. And then the lead can be converted into a deal. So we need to be able to track this journey right through until the deal is won and the money's in the bank account. So very important thing to do is lead source tracking. So you integrate the lead sources with Pipedrive's leads inbox. So if you've, for example, got leads coming in through your web form, or leads coming in through Facebook ads, or leads coming in through LinkedIn or different sources, we need to be able to track them, and then we need to be able to see based upon the lead source, how we're converting. So for example, if inquiries that come in through our web form, we're converting 1 in 5, but from Facebook ads, we're converting 1 in 10. And then from LinkedIn, we're converting 1 in 50. Well, I would suggest we probably want to focus more on the Facebook and our web interface than on LinkedIn for this particular example, or at least we need to improve what we're doing on LinkedIn, because we're receiving a lot of noise on LinkedIn, but we're actually getting real business off the other 2. So how is this done? How do we actually take our different lead sources and connect them to our email marketing system and to our CRM? Well, I use Zapier. So Zapier is a fantastic tool. It's basically an automation glue that allows you to connect multiple different systems together. So we can connect our web form, and we can connect our marketing automation solution, and we can connect our CRM together. And that allows us to send the information from one to the other. And just here on the end, I've just chucked in the link to LeadJet. So LeadJet is actually a fantastic tool in the browser, allows you to connect with LinkedIn and allows you to basically sort of connects with Pipedrive and allows to take those leads from LinkedIn straight into Pipedrive. It's pretty cool. And if I keep going, I will definitely not finish these slides. So don't want to get in too far into the weeds. So here's an example using Zapier to integrate ConvertKit and Pipedrive. So you can open up a Zapier account and you can connect the two together. So you take a subscriber here in this example, a new subscriber in ConvertKit, which is the email marketing solution, will then trigger off and create a new lead in Pipedrive. Now, how do you get a new subscriber in ConvertKit? You use something like Gravity Forms on your website to then allow every time someone fills in, an inquiry or subscribes to your newsletter, you get a subscriber. So this is how it's set up in Zapier. You can also use Zapier to send Facebook ad leads to Pipedrive. So every time a new lead comes in, you can then create a new lead in the CRM. And then you can tag it that this is a Facebook lead, and then you can actually manage it accordingly. And then if that particular lead is someone who has chosen to receive marketing and consented, you can then put that into ConvertKit and then start talking to them via a nurturing sequence. So we've got all these leads in the business. The leads inbox is full of leads, which will hopefully be converted into deals. But nothing's going to happen if you've just got those leads and you're just sitting with those leads and you just ignore that inbox. So you may have 20 leads in the inbox. How do you remember to follow up? Well, if you don't have any automations in place, what will happen is from time to time, you'll go and check the inbox and go, oh, we got 3 leads last week. And then you'll phone them up or contact them and they say, oh, sorry, we've gone with someone else. Or sorry, we're not ready, or whatever it is. So you've lost the opportunity. So when you get a new lead in your inbox, what you want is an automated follow-up activity to remind you as a salesperson to give them a call. So the first thing you'll do, let's say within an hour, depending upon the business. I was working with a business yesterday, and they're talking about 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. So it depends upon the particular business as to when you're going to follow up. So you'll follow up, send them a phone call, or give them a phone call, and then move that lead hopefully into a deal that you can then work on. And in the previous presentation from Jan, Jan spoke about qualifying a lead. So we have those criteria for deciding if a lead is actually going to be real business. And then, of course, there'll be customers who, you'll have your customers, or you'll have leads who are not ready to convert. They're not really ready to buy. We need some way to nurture them, to keep them so they're aware of you, so you're top of mind. Because it often happens, I'm sure, for most people, we're not ready to buy right now, but we've got an intention to buy maybe in 3 or 4 months a particular service. But if that particular service provider doesn't keep themselves top of mind, we'll forget. So I recommend using ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit, these 2 tools, to actually set up automated marketing, email marketing sequences. So we can, on a regular basis, send out every couple of weeks a newsletter, or what I highly recommend for new signups is a 5-part email course, for example. So you could have an email course about your product or service. For example, if you're an insurance broker, it could be a 5-part series about how to choose the best insurance for your car or your dog or whatever. And then, very importantly, to use personalization to make sure that we are aware of the behavior of that customer or that prospect over a long period of time, so we can then target our marketing messages specifically to them. So if there's someone who's actually interested in car insurance, we're not going to be sending them ads about pet insurance, or vice versa. So we make sure they're getting information that's really going to convert because it's personalized. And then finally, and again, look, I could spend an awful lot of time on this, but I've got to move fairly swiftly. And David's nodding. It's really important to actually be able to report, to get the visibility on what you're doing here. So we've got these leads, we've converted these leads, we're working on deals, but we want to know at the end of the day, which of our marketing efforts are leading to money in the bank, what's actually working. So in Pipedrive, and you've got some great charts and graphs in ConvertKit as well, and in ActiveCampaign, we're actually looking at things like lead performance and how many leads have you created, how many have you converted, lead conversion. So by lead source, what type of lead source is most effective at actually leading to good quality leads that you convert. And then deal performance. So looking at those deals, like how many deals are we actually from the start as we move them through the pipeline, what percentage are actually closing? And then once we've decided which KPIs, which key measures are important to us from the point of view of tracking lead and deal performance and conversion, we can create some nice visual dashboards, which kind of summarize all that information. So that's really it in a nutshell. Now, these are the tools that I recommend. ConvertKit and ActiveCampaign for marketing automation, Zapier for pulling it all together, Pipedrive CRM for generating fantastic signable e-documents, a PandaDoc, and for scheduling appointments via a link, which you can see at the bottom there, a bit.ly processed coffee. I use OneHub. And OneHub via Zapier integrates with Pipedrive. So when you make a booking, I get your details in Pipedrive. And then quickly, just as an overview, you can see here, Pipedrive itself has a whole bunch of out-of-the-box automations. You know, every time a new person is added to the CRM, send an email to a certain person in the business. Every time a deal is won, send an email to a member of staff. So there's so many different integrations or workflows in Pipedrive that you can use. And then here's some of my automations in Zapier, for example. Every day I get a daily agenda via SMS and an email whenever I receive a new contact, or it's actually a summary at the end of the day. And finally, this is how I work. So if you're working with me, we start with a discovery call, we map out your business, the business processes, and then we can actually plan out those automations and work out how to actually implement them in your business. And here is my process. So I'm all around co-creation. So I believe in working together with the customer to build the optimal business process. The business processes are always improving. So we never have a definitive, this is a perfect business process. We're talking about optimizing and improving all the time.
So Pete.
That's me.
Perfect. Your timing's immaculate. Obviously, what you can see from Pete is he's got a lot of knowledge and he's got a lot of technology that he likes to implement. I think the fundamental purpose behind doing this is plugging holes in the bucket. And the other one is to make sure that, people are getting communicated with the right way. Pete's got a little virtual coffee link there. I might get Kel to, there it goes. It's in the chat box right now. I'm going to recommend for you guys, if you don't have a CRM, a sales process automation tool, you need to speak to people like Pete. You need to start thinking about which way you do this, whether you do it manually or not. Too many people leave money on the table. They're looking for leads that are ready to buy, and then when they're not ready to buy, they don't know what to do with them, or they rely on memory. You need a system for this, because without having this system, pouring money into lead gen can be quite a poor return on investment. So being mindful of time, and we have 15 minutes left, if anyone would like to book a link, book a conversation with Pete, he's just put his link in the window there, and you can see how his automation works, as it should be squeaky clean and streamlined when you go there. I do want to touch on our next piece of the puzzle, conversion, or BOFU, bottom of funnel. So for a lot of people, they think this is their problem. They just need to close deals better. And the reality is, for many people who are selling, they're actually speaking to people at the wrong time. You cannot convert someone who doesn't have money. You cannot convert someone who's not ready to buy. When we talk about having a sales process, which is the next piece of the puzzle, so let's assume that you've done a really good job of shaking the tree on LinkedIn. You've identified people in your target market. You've got them to engage in your conversation. And then you put them into your CRM and you're tracking with them. There's a point in time where they show interest in purchasing from you. Now, this is where game is on. And for a lot of people, what they don't realize is that you've got to have your game face on when someone's ready to buy. So the problem is this, right? The truth of the matter is leads are expensive, right? When you go and invest money in lead gen, or you invest time in lead gen, and is anyone a networker on this call? Can I just get a show of hands for those people who get business from networking? So networking is a great source of business, but it's got a hidden cost to it, which is your time. And one of the things we don't realize is time is our most valuable asset. So if you want to do your true acquisition cost, you need to value your time at how much you bill your time for, and then divide the number of networking hours Like multiply that by number of networking hours to do your acquisition cost. The second problem that we have is that prospects are predictable. We know what the objections are that our prospects have. We already know in advance that they're going to say, you know what, I really need to think about it, or I don't have the budget, or I have to check with my boss, or I have to check with my partner. We know exactly how our prospects are going to behave, which means we can prepare in advance. The third problem is we feel pressure to close. And who loves being a salesperson? I guess, is there anyone who loves being in sales on this call? I thought Martin would stick his hand up for sure. Right. The majority of people cannot stand the idea of being a salesperson. And the reason that we cannot stand the idea is because we've experienced bad salespeople and those people who pressure us and make us feel like we have to buy today, and we never want to be that person. So we need to be thinking about how do we move this pressure to close, because that's one of the reasons that people don't close. So the opportunity is pretty simple. The first thing is you need a repeatable process. You'll notice that everything about today's presentation is about process. Because if I have a process to follow, I don't stress about it. I just follow, connect the dots. I just follow the footprints, right? The second thing I need is to get consistent results. Now, I get consistent results by making sure I put people through a consistent engagement. So they get the same information from me as they do from someone else who works here. So we know exactly where they're at in the sales process. And the last thing, and this is a big one for me, is I hate chasing. I hate following up. I do not like the idea of being the annoying pest. Okay, for me, I want to make sure my sales process is so good that people want to do work with me. Okay, now we can design this into your sales process if you commit to building a good sales process. If not, you will be the person that is chasing. And you know how the chase goes. Hi, I'm just checking in to see how you're going with my proposal. Who loves making those calls? Not many people, right? I would rather that when I give my proposal to you, you actually make an evaluation. You make a decision and you come back to me with a yes or a no. At least I know where we stand. So how do we do all this? Well, there's 4 elements to removing friction, okay? The first element is trust. Now, every sales process should start with some sort of rapport building or trust component. Now, I'll suggest to you that anyone who's looking to buy from you in the first instance, their first question is, do I trust you? Is what you're telling me true? Is what you're telling me going to deliver a result for me? Or is it literally just you just trying to sell me stuff? And if people don't trust you, they're not going to engage. The second part of this removing friction is to establish a need, okay? And what I mean by that is your sales process needs to start with some social proof, who we are, why you should trust us, and then a series of questions to assess whether you can help the prospect. Now, my favorite definition of sales that I ever heard was that sales is actually not selling, it's professionally helping people buy. Professionally helping people buy. Now, by thinking that way, I am a consultant and not a salesperson, right? Now, to help you buy, I need to understand your needs. So I build trust first, then I move into needs, and I understand what do you actually need. And then I work out whether I can help you. And I connect the dots between your need and my service. Now, if I do a good job of connecting the dots between my need, your need, and my service, then what happens is you start to see me as a valuable asset in your team. You start to see me as someone that I need to have on board because the service you provide actually solves my problem. And then we get to the last element, which is most people's frustration, is how do I get people to make a decision? How do I get them to hurry? Or how do I put some sort of compelling reason to make a decision now? Now, there's a couple of different ways of doing this. I'm not going to give you all the answers today, but I'm going to suggest to you to remove friction from your sales process, you need to address these 4 elements. Okay. Now, if you do not have a deliberate process in your sales call to establish trust, to identify need, to connect the dots between their need and your help, and then to make the deal compelling to make a decision today, you are leaving money on the table. Okay, you're leaving money on the table. Now, there's a million books on sales, and I'm not going to recommend them all, and I'm not going to give you the software because it depends on you, right? It depends on how you see this. One of the main messages out of today, and I think you're starting to see that there's a fair bit of work in building this. There's the LinkedIn 3 hours a day. I have to outsource. I have to get someone to do all this. Then I have to put it into my technology and make sure that I'm not losing people through the holes. And then when they do stick their hand up and say, hey, can you help me? I need to have a very streamlined process of converting. Now, this all takes time and it takes effort, but I will suggest to you one thing. If I look at the majority of businesses that I've worked with over the past 21 years, The biggest error that most people in business make is that they don't invest enough in sales and marketing. They don't invest enough in it. And they'll justify it a million ways to me. I've never needed to advertise because all my work comes from word of mouth. I don't have the knowledge on how to do this. I don't think marketing works. I don't want to be salesy. I just want clients to come and sign my contract and work with me. Well, I'll suggest to you this, right? You think about what business is. There's two elements to a business. There's getting clients and there's delivering service. I want you to imagine that I open a little restaurant and I make the best food in town, but I don't tell anybody. I just open the doors. I'm probably going to go broke, okay? Because no one knows I exist. And when they sort of drift in, they go, well, this food's great. You guys should get more people. And we rely on word of mouth. My suggestion is if you advertise and you market and you funnel and then you convert, you will start to build a business. And one of the best things about marketing is in today's day and age, it's going to be one of the best returns on investment you'll ever get, right? We see people getting 1 to 4 to 5 times return on ad spend. I know Martin's on the call. I know Jan's in the same situation. My question when I pay a lead gen company is, what's my return on ad spend? How much am I going to get from the money I invest with you? And most of them, it's a hard question to answer until they see my sales process. So you need to have all of this together. I want to talk about 6 magic pills, and I've got 6 minutes to do it. So it's going to be quick. Your sales process needs to have 6 components to it. So when you meet someone for the first time and you're engaged in this sales conversation, the first thing you need to do is you need to identify the problem that they have that you solve. Do not sell your product until you identify the problem, because if you don't solve a problem for them, they aren't going to part with their hard-earned cash, right? Now, they might articulate what they think the problem is, but your job is to make sure that that is the real problem and that's a problem that you can solve. So magic pill number 1 is problem assessment. Think of yourself like a doctor or a triage nurse. When you have your first element of your sales call, your job is to ask good questions, okay? When you ask those good questions, then you can give the prescription, not until after you've asked the question. So anyone who comes to you and says, hey, here's my product and this is why you should buy it because it's awesome and it has all these features and benefits, has not engaged in a conversation with you and asked you what your problem is. Now, sometimes your marketing will elicit the problem, but I need to confirm it in my sales call. Then I can give the prescription. Now, it doesn't stop here, right? Because if I assess your problem and I tell you how I can solve that problem for you, the assumption is that you're going to buy, but it's not 100% true, right? Because there's still trust lacking. So magic pill number 3 is, what is your brand promise? When you tell me that this is the prescription for the problem that you have and it comes from me, how do I know you can deliver? Right? What is your brand promise? What is the guarantee? What is the backing behind this to mitigate the risk? Right? Because everyone knows we don't like to part with our hard-earned cash easily, right? And we don't tolerate fools. So it means that if you talk to me and you ask me questions and I tell you all my problems, you say, oh, we can fix that. We can fix that. Great. Here's the solution, but do I trust you? So what is your brand promise? Magic pill number 4 is if you can demonstrate the model of delivery, right? And I've seen people do this where they have a little flow chart and they say, when we work with you, this is how we do things, right? Pete just did it. Jan just did it. They showed you that they have a process that they follow. And what that does is it gives you confidence that they're not just selling me something, they've actually got a process that backs them. So magic pill number 4 is that you have a model. By the way, we can get you these slides after this if you like. You don't need to write all this down. The 5th magic pill is logistics. Now, here's an interesting point. I can find out your problem. I can give you a prescription. I can tell you about my brand promise. I can then show you the model for delivery, right? This is how we do it. Logistics is how do we get started? How do we get started? How do we engage in the process with you? Now, you'll notice that we haven't talked about magic pill number 6, which is the price. We always leave the price till the end of the sales conversation. Why? Because once you give someone the price, they will start to evaluate whether it's worth it or not. If you haven't gone through the first 5 magic pills and you bring up your price early, people will go, thanks very much, David. Got your price. I will get back to you. And they go away and make an assessment based on the knowledge they have. The price needs to be the last part of the sales process. You'll notice before that I said logistics first. How do we help you? How do we get started? Oh, by the way, I better tell you the price so you can write my order or you can pay. That's the last part. this making sense for everyone? Thumbs up if you're with me. I know we're going through a lot in a very short period of time. But what I will tell you is if you need help with your sales process, I can definitely help you with that. And I'm happy to help anyone on this call out. But before I do, I just want to sort of summarize a couple of things. The first one is Jim Rohn. I read this book when I was 21 years old, which was like only about 10 years ago. Yeah, if you believe me, a bit longer. Yeah. But one thing I took away from Jim Rohn was this: never wish life were easier, wish you were better. And what it means is that if you want to be successful in your business right now, what you need to do is decide, what is it that I need to develop, learn, or know? Do not look for the magic wand. There is no one out there that's going to fix your problems as well as you do. And the things we've talked about today, there's plenty of people out there that can help you. Your job is to assess which ones are going to work for you. And the only way to do that is to become better at understanding what these things can deliver for you. My second favorite quote comes from a famous philosopher, Bruce Lee, who said, knowing is not enough, we must apply, right? And we can sit here for an hour today and we can talk about the 3 levels of the funnel: top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You've had 3 experts that tried to squeeze into 15 minutes their 20 years plus of experience and knowledge, which is impossible. What they've done today is demonstrated that you either feel there's a connection between what they're talking about and it resonates with you or not. And if there is, you need to take it beyond today, okay? You need to book a time to speak to these guys. Their links are in the chat box. But the last thing I want to do, and we're right on 1 minute before the end of today's session, so we're on time, which is awesome, is I'd like to get some feedback from you guys, especially on my presentation, but really on today's presentation in general. Cal, can you just pop into the chat box this link? Oh, you've done it. Oops, I've just done it a couple of times. Whoops. Can I get everyone just to click on that link right now while we're in this last minute of the call? Hopefully that takes you to a Google form. Tell me if it does. Thumbs up if you're on the Google form right now. There's 3 questions on there. One of them you should know, which is your email address. The other 2, I'm going to ask you to just answer those briefly. The second question is just giving me some feedback on what you thought was most valuable out of this presentation that we just did. And the last one is whether you want some help with your sales process. Now, you've had 3 experts today that have all said, book a time with me, I'm happy to chat. Yes, they will talk about the product and the service they deliver, but no, they will not do that unless they feel that you can benefit from what they do. That initial conversation doesn't cost money, it costs time, right? But it also helps you get educated on which part of your funnel you need to focus on. If you feel it's top of funnel, I need more leads, speak to Jan. If you feel I'm getting leads, but I'm not managing them well, I'm losing them along the way, they're ghosting me, speak to Peter. If you feel it's just that my closing process, I don't have a sales process, I'm leaving money on the table, or people are getting away without saying yes, book a time with me, right? So you've got 3 options to communicate. You can book a time with me by just filling out the form and just saying, yes, let's book a time, and Kelly will pop you a link. I think she's doing all that. She's about to disappear. Pete's put his credit card, his card details, not credit card, into the chat box as well. I know it's right on 10. We are going to open up to some questions for those people who have. If anyone has your questions, your opportunity is now. If not, what I'd like you to do is in the chat box, I want you to just identify what has been the top 2 things that you've gotten out of today's session. What have been the top 2 things that you've gotten out of today's session? So can we just get some people into the chat box? What's been most valuable out of today for you? And if anyone has any questions, just type in question in the chat box, or actually just unmute yourself and ask a question. We're all here. We have stunned silence. Obviously, we've told them everything they need to know. So from Greg, automate the process. Time is so valuable. I learned this years ago, time is our most valuable asset. And some of us as business owners don't value our time because we don't pay ourselves unless there's money left over. If you're who's guilty of that? They don't value their time. They just get left over at the end of the month. Anyone guilty of that one? If you're in that scenario, I want you to do this. Your time is worth how much you would get as an employee. If you had to close your business today and go and get a job, how much would you get paid? Because that's how much you're worth. That's the amount of money you're throwing away every year by running your business. Eric says, surprised by the number of helpful packages to integrate. Yes, there is awesome technology out there. It's just you need someone like Pete to tell you. And you write all these lists down and you find that there's some really awesome tools out there that can help you. Demo model of delivery from Jan. Martin, Know your customer's value and cost per acquisition. This is a big one, right? And I'll challenge anyone who I talk to in business to say, give me a number. How much is a client worth to you? And how much are you currently paying, or how much are you willing to pay? Because those numbers will tell you how much to spend on marketing. So it doesn't sound like there's any questions, but has today been useful? That's a quick question. Has today been useful? Thumbs up if you got some good value out of today. We've tried to condense it to 1 hour because some people said anything more than an hour is too long for our concentration and our bladder. So my encouragement to you guys is, if there's something that inspired you out of today, reach out to one of those presenters, have a conversation offline, talk about what's going on in your place, in your business, and what you need, and see if these guys can help you. The last one there is, appreciate today's session. It's been eye-opening. Trying to find 3 hours a day for LinkedIn will be interesting. Yes, it's super interesting, but find someone who can do it for you. Good to see you, John, and thanks from Eric, and thanks to all the speakers. Well done. Guys, I really want to thank you for your time and attention. We had a bit of stress at the start just trying to get everyone on the right call, but we managed to do it, which is awesome. Like I said, reach out to these guys if you have any questions. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we can improve your top of funnel, get your sales process working for you. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone. All right, take care.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.